Welcome everybody to our second episode of Under the Hood, presented by AutoInstruct. Today we're with the founder and CEO of 034Motorsport, Javad.
Hello.
And we're in sunny Fremont, California, on a trip over here to visit a number of our suppliers that AutoInstruct imports products into Australia, and to give our customers and other viewers on the internet an inside look into what these companies do, how their products are manufactured, and to really get you to understand what you're actually purchasing when you purchase a product. So, Javad, can you tell us a little bit about your history with 034 and how it started?
You bet. I started 034 Motorsport just as a fun hobby. I really got into modding and tuning cars in the mid to late 90s. And at that time, you know, Audi was just kind of coming out of a really dark age, and cars didn't all have electronic fuel injection. And so I had an Audi 80 that I wanted to turbocharge because of the iconic rally, all the rallying and racing that Audi did.
With the Quattro series,
Yeah, I wanted to emulate that. And so I set out a goal to turbocharge my Audi 80, and that sort of set me off on this path to start 034 Motorsport. Once I started developing products to turbocharge and electronically fuel inject my Audi 80, then people from all over the world started paying attention to what I was doing, and you know, the rest is kind of history. It started all from there.
That's awesome. And so the company 034 was founded roughly in...
Well, officially I quit my job in 2004.
Awesome.
But I really was doing it since about 2001, where I would start making things for people that I was doing for myself in my apartment. And I would go to work and I'd come home at night and I would build wiring harnesses and solder together ECU circuit boards. And
well, it's definitely how most businesses start at some point.
And it was just for fun. I mean, at that point, I didn't imagine that, you know, I could ever make a living doing it, but I knew it was something that I wanted to do, and I was younger, and I just
people obviously love the product too, which...
Yeah, you know, it was amazing. It was allowing people to take their car from, you know, 160, 180 horsepower, which is, you know, the limit of those factory fuel, you know, CIS systems.
Yep.
And then there was virtually no limit. So once they put my electronic fuel injection controller on, I had friends who started making 300, 400 horsepower, and I would use myself to kind of set the standard of what was possible. And so I hit, you know, a 200 horsepower milestone, then I set a milestone to get to 300 and 400 and 500, and
a fair bit of performance out of
for a long time it was just me modifying the car, dynoing it, drag racing it, and I went through this cycle for many years. But other people, you know, saw that and said, well, I've got one of those cars too with 160 horsepower. The thought of having 500 horsepower was intoxicating. And so that was the excitement that allowed me to go further with it.
And we're in one of your development vehicles, the 2018 TTRS, which many people may have come across online and part of your promotional stuff. And skipping forward to today, where you've now got a huge level of development on the MQB platform, how has that platform changed the way that 034 Motorsport has grown and developed between coming from, you know, very specific areas of parts and fuel rails and that kind of things to now a magnitude of parts for a very solid platform in the Volkswagen Group?
Yeah, you know, for a long time we had to develop Volkswagen parts and Audi parts in tandem, and the MQB really changed a lot. You know, at one point we had to make a decision, well, do we want to buy a GTI, do we want to buy an S3, do we want to buy a TT? You know, and there was so many different options, which was great, and our real foray into the MQB market was our 8V S3 which I think is a 2015 model. And around the same time, we picked up a GTI as well. But yeah, it's insane. You can design a suspension component for a Golf, and it also works on an RS3.
Yeah, that's and obviously you can't also forget the Skoda market. So for us in Australia, that's a big one for us. And unfortunately, our platform is not available to you here, but that is also built on the MQBs, and we see an awesome number of customers coming to us and getting 034 products onto their cars as well. You know, with this platform sharing.
We only wish we had some of those cars here, but
I can send you one, but they're not cheap. So for the MQB platform, you've got a number of products, and using a Golf as an example, you've got sway bars, springs, downpipes. Almost every suspension component can be swapped out.
Yeah.
And you've also got your new camber tops, which have been a huge success. I'd like to give everyone a bit of an insight to what kind of development goes into your products, and you know, it's not just a copy of a product, or it's not just an AutoCAD drawing that's just produced with a bit of light testing. Using your camber mounts as an example, what kind of development did you go through to create that product?
Absolutely. So for us, we've never wanted to be a company that just simply like purchases product, slaps our label on it, and ships it. Every 034 Motorsport product that we sell is designed and engineered in-house. Comes out of the fact that we are enthusiasts, that we drive these cars, we track these cars, we live in these cars, and performance is important to us. And we are in many cases the best people to come up with these ideas.
Yep.
Because we're as excited about these cars as any of our customers.
Of course.
A lot of times product ideas come out of a need or a necessity that either we or our customers identify.
Yep.
In the case of the fixed camber mounts, there's been a lot of adjustable camber plates on the market for years. They allow you to set and adjust your camber. However, they're solid, spherical.
Of course.
So
right.
they do wear and rattle.
Yep.
They don't do any dampening, and they require a lot of adjustability. So every time you do something, you need the car on an alignment rack to get realigned. And so if you track your car 4 or 5 times a year, you have to make these adjustments.
Yep, of course.
So we started thinking, what if we could give our customers an option that had some rubber in it, that wasn't quite as harsh, and that didn't require any adjustment. So it just gave them an optimal amount of camber, the amount that they'd want anyways, without having to make these adjustments. And so we literally, it was probably like in July, started discussing the idea, and a few weeks later we had it CAD drafted and designed. We had 3D prints that we were testing in cars. We have a really nice alignment rack in-house, which allowed us to install it on the car and adjust the camber and alignment settings using our in-house vehicles. And then soon after that, we machined prototypes, and we had the rubber portions samples made for testing, and we had prototypes in cars on 3 different cars within 2 or 3 months. And then from that point on, it was testing, making adjustments, and dialing and fine-tuning the specifications of the product, as well as any quality and reliability issues that cropped up along the way.
So with the added camber, now that we can dial in with the camber mounts, how did that reflect on the track? And what issues were you originally seeing on the track that inspired the development of the adjustable camber? The fixed camber mounts.
Yeah. So many customers have since told us that this is one of the best modifications they've ever done to their car. And what we see on the track is with factory camber of around 1 degree, the tire on the outside rolls underneath the rim, and it's very common to see the lettering on the tires worn completely off. Which also means that your tread patch is now reduced from something that's quite small to even maybe the size of a small coin.
Sidewall, yeah.
And onto the sidewall, which isn't even designed to be.
And you've noticed this across all MQB kind of vehicles?
Yeah, MQB, and whenever we've done this, we even have B8, B5, B6, B7, B8, B9 camber arms, and we see this whenever that we can increase the camber to around 2 to 2.5 degrees. We see a huge improvement. So now, with that camber, we can see wear across the whole tread. Tires are lasting much longer, and much more grip. So I mean, it literally transforms the car from, the typical Audi Volkswagen feel to something with the steering response of maybe like a Evo 8 or something like that. I mean, it's really transformative to how the car drives.
And the fact that it's fixed based on your engineered calculations means it's a set and forget part for our customers, and they don't have to worry about adjusting it and going to those levels of constantly tweaking that part where it's giving them the correct amount they need from the get-go.
Yeah, and these are the kind of products that we love, where they're good value, they're minimal compromise, and a huge improvement in functionality.
So for the MQB platform, obviously this is still in production with Volkswagen, and I think they'll continue for many years on because it's such a reliable platform. Where's your product development heading? Is there anything that we can look forward to in the future?
Well, yeah, the interesting thing about the MQB is, since it hasn't changed that much, a lot of the products aren't changing. So the downpipe and the intake and the chassis components and the inserts and the mounts, all fit MQBs. But a lot of what we're doing now is, like for example, the Mark III TTRS and the new RS3 is, there are components that are different. So, the downpipe is different because it's a 5-cylinder, and the intake's different, between the cars. So we're currently focusing on bringing our breadth of product line to the new models that come out, and fortunately there's enough little differences that gives us opportunities to develop product on.
Of course. I mean, I've been hearing you've seen a few articles online recently with the Golf Mark 8 and what that might bring. It'd be interesting to see if they do actually come out with the higher output motors to compete with the hot hatch market of 45 and so forth.
Yeah, it's hard to know, after Dieselgate and all that, what Volkswagen's going to do. But fortunately, they haven't backed off on that 5-cylinder motors.
They've made them better, actually.
Oh my gosh, they're unbelievable. The amount of performance that comes stock, and then even with modifications, there's tremendous opportunity.
Somehow, as well, for our viewers, I don't know if you can see it in the cameras, but Christian is behind us.
He's doing a good job keeping up.
In a Chrysler 300C, which is our rental vehicle, and handles like a boat with nice big sidewalls, but he's actually doing an alright job.
Yeah, he's keeping up. It's good.
And this currently has your Stage 1 prototype on it?
Yeah, so as our Stage 1 tune, that's nowhere near finished, but as you can see, runs quite well. And this has the host of MQB chassis components like rear trailing arms and inserts. This has our soon-to-be released Mark III TTRS Dynamic Plus springs, Dynamic Plus sway bars.
They feel great, by the way, bro.
Yeah, the car
really
feels
getting
really
a
nice.
workout today.
Yeah, so I mean, this is something that we focus on a lot. Is we develop TTRS specific springs. There's a separate spring set that will come out for the RS3, and that's different than the S3. Even though S3 springs fit on an RS3, we treat each car separately in the development of the springs, and there's not many companies that do that. Even the biggest, most well-known companies in the world, they don't necessarily differentiate between a Golf and an RS3 is, if it fits, then they offer that one spring for everything.
But whereas you should actually be dealing with the fact that you've got a very different weighted motor in the front.
Different weighted motor. The suspension is tuned differently, so the S3 and the RS3 have completely different dampers. We see this on the B9, A4, and S4, where we have completely different springs. The spring rates and lengths and heights are nowhere even close between the two cars, even though there are plenty of companies that offer one spring for both. And then on top of it, I spend thousands of miles testing and driving the springs on the street. We track 4 to 5 times a year. And then we also put these products on multiple cars since we have so many cars in-house. And then above and beyond that, we have a local service department. So we have customers that we can have come in to have these prototype parts installed on, or maybe it's a first article. So our goal is to really spend as much time and energy experiencing and testing these products before we ever release them, so that any kind of problem that could come up, any issue that could arise would happen during that phase before it's offered to the market. The last thing we want is customers having bad experiences and having any issues with our products.